Hello everyone, fantastic to be here today. So I'm Denise Hodge, I'm the CEO and founder of JourneyTech. We're a commercialization services company, so we focus on accelerating technologies and research coming out of universities and translating that and actually providing it as a pathway to market and to industry. It's a very exciting role. I get to see a lot of innovations that no one has seen before, so very early in the development stage. It's a really great space to work in. Now, you're probably wondering what's with the toothbrushes, and it was really to remind me to talk about, through this 10 minutes that I've been given, thank you very much, it's all about choices. That's how I look at careers, and very much in my career, it's always been about choices. Is it the blue toothbrush? Is it the pink toothbrush? I spend a lot of time in the supermarket with my 9-year-old, I don't know why, choosing toothbrushes. And I feel like my career has been very similar. It's all about, should it be the pink toothbrush or should it be the blue toothbrush? So there's a little bit of a theme around choices through my talk. This is me, looking very excited and full of eagerness in 2003. This was just as I'd finished my PhD. And this was celebrating the finishing, and I still have that lab coat, and all of my supervisors and friends and colleagues signed it, and I still have that lab coat today. So really, again, ticking off a few goals. Yes, managed to finish high school, fantastic. Yes, got my degree. You can hear probably from my voice that I'm from the UK, so got that from the University of York. Yes, managed to get a PhD. As you can see, very excited. 3 long years, but very good ones. And then I went on to do a postdoc. So then came the question, what next? And I actually thought for this talk, I would put a little bit of a pathway together around what my pathway has been for throughout my career. And this is what I found, and it was quite eye-opening actually to myself as well. And I'm not going to spend ages and bore you with each of those individual positions that I went through, but there are some little points along the way that I will draw your attention to. One of those was here. So I did my PhD, I then did a bit of a science communication role, and then I had a jump. I moved from the UK to Australia. And yes, most of that was for backpacking, and I did go down the East Coast on a Greyhound bus, and it was very exciting. But it did take me to Australia, which I think is one of the great things about science, is that you can travel, and you can travel to different countries, and you have this transferable skill which goes across the globe. So I had the real excitement to do that, and I came to Australia, and I did a postdoc at IMB at University of Queensland, and loved every minute of it. The second transition point was between my postdoc and when I became a trainee attorney, and that was to become a patent attorney. And I again did that in Australia, and it was a big jump. So I went from wearing jeans and a t-shirt to wearing a suit jacket and formal suits, and it was a big jump for me, and it was a lot of writing that came with it. So that was a steep learning curve. The next big one, I would say, was when I moved from the patent attorney into a commercial landscape. So I joined the university, and I started to work on commercialization of technologies. Again, everything what I call cradle to grave. It's taking new innovations, working with researchers to take their innovations out, partner with industry, and actually see it go into the marketplace. Another big point here is I jumped back to the UK. So again, with these sort of skills that I had around a patent attorney, commercialization, I had a research background, I then could move back. So again, fantastic opportunities to move around globally. I went back to the UK, across to the University of Edinburgh, and that's where I was a business development manager. But it hadn't finished there. I then decided I would jump back again. So I came back to Australia, and I went to Melbourne, and I joined the government and worked as a COO. And again, looking at commercialization. And my sort of story moves then on to multiple other universities, and then finally forming my own company. So you can see here, it's been a really sort of interesting pathway through different roles, different countries. But one thing I wanted to talk about here was transferable skills. And that's something that I've taken along each of my different positions. So some of those transferable skills which have helped along the way are things like people skills. Managing teams, talking to people, leading with empathy. Writing. It has been a key thing for me to be able to write and write well. I got a little bit of that as a researcher, but really it came when I was training to be a patent attorney. Attention to detail, that's been throughout all of my jobs, so real clear attention to detail. Making a difference. I had a real passion, I still do. I want to make a difference. It doesn't have to be me. I can help someone else make a difference, but I want to get there. Communication, like we're doing now, really important to be able to communicate well, whether it's through written or whether it's PowerPoint and presenting. Innovation. Innovation is really important to all of these roles. That's internally, so intrapreneurship, entrepreneurship, all of the above. Learning. Never stop learning throughout everything. Never feel like you know everything, like my 14-year-old son does. It's not the case. So always keep learning. And analytical skills. So one of the biggest things that I've brought along with my scientific background is the way I can analyse things. So I feel like that skill was taught to me throughout my PhD and my degree, and I did a biology degree. I can actually look analytically at all of the different things around business, tech transfer. It's just been a really great skill to have. How am I doing with time? Thank you. Foundations of science. So here I wanted to talk about if you have a foundation of science and intellectual property, which can be gained through if you're doing, I don't know, if you look to do an MBA, for example, you have interest in that, or you're looking to do, maybe some IP courses. If you have that type of background, there are a number of different careers you can take and different pathways. And this is what I'm talking about, where you have choices. So you could become a knowledge tech transfer professional with an IP background and with some deep science, a patent attorney, both of those would apply, a patent examiner, work at IP Australia in Canberra. You can be an IP analyst or patent searcher, an IP lawyer, that's another one. A lot of these require other qualifications, but the foundation is still there. An IP manager, and that can be in-house in industry, it can be within universities, it can be within a small SME or a startup. An IP consultant, so you can be someone like me, who sits in your own company or a larger firm and provides consulting. And I always like to put teacher, because it is a really great thing to do, and there's not enough of them. So teacher is another really good option there. And then I also wanted to look about this sort of area from science and business. So again, knowledge tech transfer professional is up there, again, within universities, within industry. A commercialization manager, which is where I started, and I did that in universities. It can be very broad or it can be quite narrow, depending on what organisation you're in. Startup founder. There seems to be a lot of startup founders happening. It's an exciting, risky, invigorating option, but it's out there, and there's a lot more pathways where you can do that. Investment associate, or even an investor. So there's angel investors and VCs, an entrepreneur. There's a lot of those starting to pop up as well. Or you can go into the C-suite. There's a COO or a CSO or a CEO in a small company, in a startup, in a larger organisation. There's pathways to work towards that. And again, I'm going to put the teacher on there because we really need them. So there's a teacher, and it's a really good fallback position with lots of opportunities. But I do hear that apparently the holidays are not as good as we all think. What's to love or hate? So I wanted to just talk about my role and things that I love, but not everyone will. And this, again, is about choices. So throughout my whole journey, I've always had a choice. You never don't have a choice. And it's a little bit like you come and there's a fork in the road and you decide, am I going to go this way or this way? And then you stick with it, off you go, and it takes you in lots of different directions. The majority of the roles that I've had have not been ones that I've chosen and put an application in for. They've been ones where either someone has approached me or there's been a conversation. Next thing you know, we're moving towards starting a different role in a different organisation. And that's been always through my network, so important networks. So what I like is amazing innovations, often first to hear, very exciting, get a buzz out of that. Working with smart and passionate people, fantastic. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Solving problems, I really enjoy solving problems. Not everyone does, so that might be a hate. Strategic thinking and planning, I love planning. I like making lists, and that's something that I do a lot of. So again, a love or a hate. Traveling, I travel a lot. I like traveling globally as well. Networking, super important. Often get the opportunity to do it. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. Depends on the crowd. Deep analytical and written tasks. I do love those. I like really going deep down into the detail and spending time in a quiet room on my own, and maybe that's my scientific background training. Love it. Big picture thinking, I also like that. Working with lots of people, being creative, getting a whiteboard out, and that's also what I do in my job. Teaching and presenting I really enjoy as well, and like having the back and forwards. That's it. So thank you so much for listening.